What up, what up, what up? We back on the channel today with another banger. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be giving my predictions for this year's March Madness tournament. Along with that, I will give my predictions for two of the first four games because I'm recording this on Tuesday, right as the UNC San Diego State game is going on right now. So I'll give my picks for those two games, and then along with that, just the rest of the bracket. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting things off over here in the South region, Auburn versus either Alabama State or I think this is like St. Francis. I think Alabama State ended up winning this one today, but it won't really matter. Auburn's gonna win either way, so they're the number one overall seed. They have been shaky really recently, and they are facing a 16 seed, and you guys do know that a 16 seed has won against a 1 seed two times in tournament history. Both of them happening recently. Once with UMBC back in 2018, I think, around that time, and Purdue just 2 years ago. So I don't think a 16 seed is going to win against a 1 seed this year, but I guess, again, we never know. It's March Madness, so like anything could legitimately happen, but I just don't think it's likely. Auburn has been cold as of late. They haven't really been winning a lot of games, but they're still a very dominant team. They still had a really great season. They're going to win in the first round. Now, Louisville Creighton. This game, I've genuinely wanted to pick both teams. It's like both teams are very, very equal in my opinion. And I also think both teams have been heavily underseeded. This is one of the gripes I have with the committee, is that they just did not care about what happened in their conference tournaments, right? Louisville ended up beating a good Clemson team and made a run to the conference tournament championship, where they lost to Duke, but they still made it to the finals, right? Creighton beat a couple good teams as well on their way to the Big East Conference Championship, where they lost, but they still made it to the finals. Michigan, as we'll talk about soon, they won the Big Ten tournament. They had 3 Quad 1A wins, but they didn't get bumped to single seed line. So the committee just clearly doesn't care about the conference tournament, which is just stupid. Because I feel like the idea that rewarding teams before a conference tournament happens, just with their seeds, just doesn't make any sense. Because what's the point of those teams that are actually fighting for their bubble lives and fighting for the tournament, trying to win in the conference tournament? Boise State's another good example. They made it all the way to the Mountain West championship game. They lost to a really hot, honestly, a red hot Colorado State team. And it didn't even matter because, even though they picked up a couple Quad 1, Quad 2 wins, they're still out of the field. And I'll get to UNC in a little bit, but I have my gripes. Anyways, tangent aside, Louisville and Creighton are both amazing teams. The only reason I'm gonna pick Louisville in this one is that the game is in Lexington, so it's basically a home game for Louisville, which is kind of crazy for Creighton because they low-key got shafted, but again, both these teams are hella underseeded, and they both, in my opinion, have a very solid chance of winning this game and also making a run to the Sweet 16. I said it. But on to Michigan, UC San Diego. Michigan has been heavily underrated by the committee. They just went to the Big Ten tournament, won 3 straight Quad 1A wins, and they have, I think, the 4th or 5th most Quad 1 wins in the country, and yet they got seeded as a 5 seed, to the point where they're facing a very dangerous UC San Diego team. So safe to say Michigan very much so got shafted by the committee. But anyways, regardless of that, Michigan, they are the better team. They have great length. Lag Golden's a dog. Especially, they have Trey Donaldson. He's great. And can't even forget Danny Wolf, he's their facilitator slash point big, kind of like a Jokic type mold of a player. Obviously, he's not as good as Jokic right now, but kind of that same mold, where he's a passing big who has a solid jumper, has been shaky at times, but still a solid jumper, can handle the rock. Just a great overall player. So I personally think Michigan is gonna win this game. It's gonna be a very tough matchup because you guys should know, so UC San Diego is one of the best mid majors This has been one of the best. They have been one of the best mid majors this year. Sorry for that, but I just think Michigan's just slightly better. Not even slightly. They're like a lot better. It's just gonna come down to if Michigan will stop turning the ball over, because they've had a huge turnover problem. If they can keep the turnovers to a minimum in this game and they can slow down UC San Diego, I think they should be able to win this game. It's gonna be close, I think, but I still think Michigan's gonna win it. Now Texas A&M and Yale. Texas A&M, one of the 14 SEC teams in, they had a really solid season, but I'm not gonna lie, they have not been a great shooting team. They have great offensive rebounders. I think they have the highest or one of the highest offensive rebounding rates in the country. But if they shoot the ball really poorly again today, or I guess in this game against Yale, this game could get out of hand, and I think Yale will be able to pull out the upset. So I'm gonna go with the upset here. I'm gonna go with Yale beating Texas A&M. A really poor shooting team doesn't really fare well usually in March. They do have great offensive rebounding, so that will help. But I just think if you're gonna play these one-off games, you kind of have to shoot your best, and Texas A&M has shown they haven't really had that ability. So I'm gonna go with the Ivy League standouts and Yale to pull off the upset here, win at 13-4. Now Ole Miss versus San Diego State or UNC. I personally think San Diego State's gonna win this game. UNC, they should not even be in the field in the first place. It's just an absolute disgrace that the committee put in a team that was 1-12 in Quad 1, along with having no meaningful wins. I think they had one win over a tournament team, and that was UCLA. They had no other wins over tournament teams. They've had a bunch of losses to non-tournament teams, such as Stanford, Wake Forest, I think Pitt as well. So, again, UNC played a tough schedule. I understand that. And they were pretty solid outside of Quad 1. But you cannot reward a team for winning one game out of 12 attempts in Quad 1. That's just insane. So what's the precedent that's set for the future? It's like, do you want the future teams that are trying to vie for a bubble spot or like a tournament spot to just be scheduling a tough schedule and just lose all those games? It doesn't even matter that they lost all those games. Or is it more so the fact that since you're a national powerhouse, that UNC gets like an edge somehow in the tournament? And what makes it even worse is that the committee left out West Virginia, who was a completely much more deserving team over UNC. It's just not even close. Like, West Virginia had a much better Quad 1 record. They had a lot better rankings here and there. And sure, they've been on a downturn as of late, but let's not act like UNC has played an elite schedule in the ACC. The ACC sent 3 teams other than UNC to the tournament. They have some of the worst Power 5 teams in the country in Boston College, in teams like Georgia Tech that aren't really that good. Notre Dame's all right. Wake Forest was just okay. And it's just disgraceful that a team like West Virginia, which had so many Quad 1 wins, so many quality wins, just got left out of the tournament for UNC just because, at least according to the committee, their best player in Tucker DeVries got hurt early in the year. Which doesn't even make sense because he got hurt 8 games into the season. West Virginia played the rest of their season without him. And they still have an elite player in Javon Small. So it's absolute stupidity that the committee just decided to leave out West Virginia for UNC, despite the fact that they've had better Quad 1 wins after Tucker DeVries got hurt. And it's just stupidity, but whatever. Rant aside, UNC should not be here. I don't think they're going to win the game against San Diego State. Either way, I think Ole Miss is fraudulent. I think San Diego State's going to move on to the round of 32. I really think Ole Miss had a good year for sure in a very tough SEC. But if you're matching them up against San Diego State, you're starting to get healthy at the right time. I think San Diego State's going to win this one. So SDSU on to the round of 32. Now Iowa State, Lipscomb. Iowa State, they have been very injured recently. They're definitely not at full strength in the tournament. But I think they should be able to just squeak by Lipscomb. Lipscomb is still a really solid team. They won the ASUN. They have some really solid players. It's just, I think Iowa State will do just enough to squeak by in this game and go on to play SDSU. Now, Marquette, New Mexico. The Mountain West definitely got shafted with their bids. New Mexico should be a lot higher than 10 seed. at least at bare minimum a 9 seed, maybe even pushing for an 8. But again, this is going to be a bad matchup for Marquette, in my opinion. Donovan Dent for New Mexico is one of the best like mid-major players in the country. He's an absolute stud. Richard Pitino's done a great job with New Mexico, and they were a couple of shots away from playing in the conference championship and probably winning it. Actually, I wouldn't say probably, because Colorado State's been red hot, but they've been a great team this year. They've had some really solid wins. I'm going to take New Mexico to move on. Because Marquette, they've been great this year, obviously, but they've low-key been starting to sputter as of late with a lot of their losses. So I'm going to go with New Mexico to keep on rolling. Now, Michigan State, Brian, I think it's been said that 3 times in the past 4 years, one 15 seed has beaten a 2 seed. And of those 15 seeds, they all made runs to the Sweet 16. Because you got Oral Roberts, Sweet 16. The year after, St. Peter's, shout out to Peacocks, to the Elite Eight. And then good old Princeton to the Sweet 16. I don't think a team or 15 seed won last year. Now the question is, will a 15 seed win this year? Maybe, maybe not. I just don't think it's going to be Michigan State that loses this one. They've been really damn good. They've been pretty red hot as of late too. Kind of like New Mexico, except they all similar to New Mexico. They kind of stuttered in the conference tournament with a close loss to Wisconsin. But Michigan State's for real, so they're going to beat Bryant. Now on to the West region. Florida is going to win against Norfolk State. I'm not going to spend any more time with this one. UConn, Oklahoma. UConn, the back-to-back champs, played pretty decently throughout the year. They had some really good high-end wins, but they also had some very, very inexcusable losses, such as the one to Seton Hall, I think like a month ago. So I don't know what UConn we're going to get in the tournament. I think they'll do just enough to beat Oklahoma. But again, it very well could be Oklahoma. These 9-8 games are very hard to predict. You could see the 9 seed winning. You could see the 8 seed winning. The teams are very similar in resume and ability. I think UConn's freshmen will be doing good enough for them to win, especially Liam McNeely. So I'm going to take UConn in that game. Memphis, Colorado State. All right. Colorado State has been incredibly hot. They ended up being basically a bid thief and snuck into the field after like winning a lot of games as of late. Nate Clifford's been spectacular. Colorado State has a really good team. Memphis also has a really good team. They have some really great non-conference wins. They low-key kind of coasted their way to the American, which is definitely not as good as it used to be. But they definitely had some scares in the conference tournament, with especially with Tulane. But either way, I think this is going to come down to which team is able to shoot the ball better and is able to essentially have a better field goal percentage throughout the game. Colorado State, they've been on a roll. I think they're going to keep going on a roll. Give me the Rams to beat and upset Memphis to move on to the next round. Now to Maryland Grand Canyon. Maryland lost a heartbreaker to Michigan in the Big Ten tournament semifinals, allowing Trey Donaldson to essentially get an easy layup for the win. But they still have a really great team. Derek Queen's a dog. They have some really great other players. Grand Canyon, they've won the WAC again. I think they've won 3 straight now. Maybe it's 2 straight or 3 or 4, something like that. But they basically have owned the WAC conference. A really great mid-major. They're moving on to the Mountain West next year. Shout out to them. I'm happy for them. But for this tournament specifically, I just don't think Grand Canyon's going to have enough to upset under the team again, because last year they upset St. Mary's. But I just think Maryland's going to be too good for them. So we'll see Maryland on to the next round. Missouri Drake. I don't know, man. I really want to pick Drake. Because like they've had a fantastic season. Missouri went through just a buzzsaw in the SEC, ended up being one of the most surprising teams in the country, going from like I think 0 wins in conference play last year to being a really solid team this year in the SEC, and even getting a top 6 seed. But it's going to be a very tough matchup for Mizzou against Drake. Penn State is a dog. Drake just somehow keeps finding ways to win. They got 30 wins this year. They beat Vanderbilt. So they beat Kansas State. And I think they beat some other people too. Let me look. they beat Miami. I mean, Miami is pretty bad this year, but still, that's not their fault that Miami was really bad. Um, yeah, I don't know. That Vandy result definitely stands out because it was at Vandy too. But Drake has the star power to be able to take down Mizzou. It's just I think Mizzou's gonna be too deep, too talented. They're gonna hang on. I think. Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington. Only case I can see Texas Tech losing this game is if they just shoot the ball really poorly. I mean, they've shown that they sometimes do that, but I just doubt that's going to happen. UNCW is a fun team, but they're just not going to be able to match up with Texas Tech. Kansas and Arkansas. Funny, the Kansas is. Give me Arkansas. Kansas has been like a very disappointing team this year, honestly. Arkansas too, but Kansas to a much major extent because they start off as the number one rated team in the country, or at least ranked team in the country. And they've just fallen off a cliff. They still made the tournament. They still have some quality wins. Not a bad team by any stretch, but it's for a team full of like seniors and upperclassmen. This team has heavily disappointed, and I think they're going to lose in the first round this year. This team just isn't it. So give me Arkansas. They're getting Boogie Flan back from injury. I think it's going to be a massive boost for this team, and Arkansas is going to win. Now, St. John's, Omaha. Give me St. John's. Rick Pitino showing why he's, again, one of the best coaches in college basketball history, leading St. John's to a crazy turnaround from a team that was, I think it was first four out or next four out last year to a 2 seed, a Big East championship, and just a great season for them overall. They're going to roll over Omaha. Shout out to the Mavericks from the good old Summit. But St. John's moves on. Now on to Duke and I think American versus Mount St. Mary's. Duke's going to win this game. It doesn't matter who they play. The Duke has generally been one of the most, not surprising, but it's been pretty surprising how well they played, despite the fact that they were just full of like freshmen. Obviously, the freshmen are very talented. Isaiah Evans is great. Con Knuppel is great. Cooper Flagg obviously is the best player in the country in my opinion. Obviously, Janai Broome is also great, but Cooper Flagg's, in my opinion, a little bit better because of the both sides of the ball. But anyways, Duke's just been fantastic. Tyrese Proctor has been really great for them this year. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really see a scenario where Duke doesn't at least, at bare minimum, make it to the Elite Eight pretty easily. So now Mississippi State, Baylor. These two teams are very evenly matched. Again, 8-9s. They're tough to predict. I think Baylor's going to win because of their tournament experience with Scott Drew at head coach. He's a great coach, in my opinion. And I just think he's going to show it when they play Mississippi State. Mississippi State also, again, is a good team. It's just, I think both teams are pretty similar in that they've had good seasons, but just haven't been like amazing as of late. I just think Baylor's going to do just enough to win. Now, Oregon Liberty. I could very well see Liberty winning this game. The 12-5 classic upset. It's just I think Oregon's going to be just good enough to survive and advance. They played a really tough Big Ten schedule this year. Started off amazingly, but then like faltered down. They kind of got hot again, and then like lost a couple games near the end. So, a team of runs and a team of roller coaster emotions, But I just think Oregon's gonna win this game. Liberty very well could win this game. It's just I have more faith in Oregon right now. And just hanging on. Survive and advance. That's the story of March. Arizona Akron, give me the Zips in an upset. I think Arizona's severely overrated. They had a good year. They've had some really quality wins. It's just I think the team is just very severely hyped to the point where people think they can potentially make a run in the tournament. I think Akron's gonna put a stop to that. The Zips are a very good team. They ended up coming back from I think it's like double digits down against Miami, Ohio in the MAC championship, playing their way into the field. They're a very dangerous team. They've been in the tournament for a couple of years. They got close to pulling off upsets. I think they're going to finally get it done this year. So give me the Zips. BYU, VCU, the battle of names. Give me the Cougars. VCU is a really great team. Shout out to them for winning the A-10 finally for the first time in a minute. They've been really solid this year. They have some solid wins. But I don't know. I just think BYU has just been so damn good recently. Obviously, VCU, these are their games. But BYU's been so good recently, other than like their loss to Houston, obviously, in the Big 12 championship. not championship, sorry, Big 12 tournament. Again, Houston's a buzzsaw, but they've been really good as of late. They went on a roll. I think the Storm and Mormons are going to win this game. It's going to be close, and a lot of people will think VCU is going to win this game, and honestly, valid take. It's just I think BYU is going to be just a little bit too strong for them. Wisconsin, Montana. I really want to pick Montana, but Wisconsin's just been a really good team. John Tonji's been amazing. And sure, they lost to Michigan in the conference championship, but they're still a very great team. Beat Michigan State. Some really great wins. So I think it's going to be enough for them to win this one and move on. St. Mary's, Vanderbilt. Give me the Gales. St. Mary's got pretty disrespected by the committee. I think they were at least a 6 or a 5 seed, but they got hit with a 7 seed. Tough matchup against Vanderbilt, but I just think St. Mary's is better. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. Alabama's beating Robert Morris. An upset's not happening there. Now, Houston, SIUE. Give me the Cougars. Houston's been on a roll. This team has been one of the hottest teams in the country outside of Duke, and they've just been, their defense is elite. It's insane. I mean, if I can look it up, but like their defense is just insane. They have great offense too, to a certain extent. Look at this, 58 points per game, 5-3 against the top 25. They lost only one game in the conference, won the conference tournament. Houston's just been amazing. So, shout out Calvin Sampson for just keeping this team just great continually, year throughout year, you know? Even though they keep losing players to the draft, transfer portal, it doesn't matter. They just keep rebuilding, retooling, just being as good as usual. Gonzaga, Georgia, give me the Bulldogs. Which one, though? Bad joke. But I think I'm going to take Gonzaga on this one, even though it's a very close game. Gonzaga's slightly better, I think. They have lost some games that they should have won, so I very well could see Georgia winning this one. Georgia, shout out to them for making it to the tournament for the first time in a while, but give me the Gonzaga Bulldogs. It's March, so expect Mark Few to make a run, you know? Now, Clemson, McNeese. I know a lot of people want to pick McNeese in this one. Clemson had a really good year, though. They've won a lot of great games, beat Duke themselves. So give me psych. Give me McNeese. Clemson's going to fall in a 12-5 upset here. And sure, Clemson very well could win this one, but I just think McNeese has been really solid. A team full of like upperclassmen. Will Wade's a fantastic coach. He's going to get hired again to a Power 5 team pretty soon. But give me McNeese. Now, Purdue, High Point. I really want to pick High Point. It's just I think Purdue and Braden Smith might be a little bit too much. I'll pick High Point. Give me High Point. I think Purdue has been really suspect as of late, so I think that might play into High Point, just pulling off the upset here. Braden Smith is most of their offense, so if High Point can slow him down, then they have a really good shot at winning this game. Illinois versus Texas or Xavier. Again, Xavier, another team that had one quad one win. They shouldn't be in the field, in my opinion. But whatever. I think they're going to be either team, in all honesty. Sure, Texas, Trey Johnson, Xavier has some solid players too. It's just, I think Illinois, with their star freshman and like a really solid team, is going to show up. They're going to beat either of Xavier or Texas, you know. So give me Illinois. Kentucky or Troy. Kentucky, they've lost like 2 straight as a top 3 seed in the first round. I expect that streak to continue. No. That'd be crazy, though. Imagine they do. I just don't think Troy's good enough to beat Kentucky. But then again, no one knew that Oakland was good enough to beat Kentucky, so Troy might actually win this one. But I think Kentucky will do just enough to win in the first round to get to the second round. So now on to UCLA, Utah State. Give me Utah State. Both teams have been kind of flailing as of late. I still think Utah State is a very, very good team. I think they're going to do just enough to hang on and win this game. Tennessee, Wofford. I think it's just hard to pick 15 seed this year. But if I had to pick one 15 seed winning, I think it would be Wofford over Tennessee. So, and I know this might be crazy, but Tennessee, despite the fact that they made a deep run in the SEC tournament, had a fantastic season, was fighting for a 1 seed till the end. Give me Wofford and the Terriers. I think they're the Terriers. But just for fun, I think one 15 seed is going to win probably. It's a crapshoot to figure out who. So I'll just guess it's Wofford against Tennessee. It's not a great matchup for Wofford, but they have a really sneaky good team. So I could see them pull it off. All right. First round done. Second round. Let's go back up to the South region. Auburn, Louisville. Auburn's been on a pretty bad cold streak as of late. They've lost a bunch of games. And obviously, it's a tough competition in the SEC. Louisville is unbelievably underseeded. This is a bad matchup for Auburn. Janai Brewer and Auburn are going home. Give me Louisville and the Cardinals. Shout out to Pat Kelsey for having an amazing turnaround for this team. But Michigan, Yale. Yale's Cinderella run is probably going to end here. They had a great run, beating Texas A&M in an upset. It's just I think Michigan's going to be too big, too quick. As long as they, again, keep the turnovers down, they should win. Now, San Diego State versus Iowa State. Give me the Aggies. Iowa State has been very suspect as of late with all the injuries piling up. I said they're going to barely squeak by Lipscomb, but they're not going to squeak by San Diego State, who's going to take advantage of Iowa State's injuries and beat them. Now, New Mexico, Michigan State. Michigan State's a lot of people's picks for the championship or at least a Final Four team. Give me New Mexico. Donovan Dent's going to show everyone why he's one of the best players in the country, period. Not just mid-major. He's going to have a hell of a game. And Michigan State's going to be upset again pretty early on in March. Tom Izzo's a fantastic coach, but like all the other great coaches, he sometimes has a history of choking in March. And the Spartans are going to do it again. So give me New Mexico in an upset. I'll just finish up this region first. Louisville, Michigan. Louisville has had a fantastic year. It's just I think Michigan's better. They have a better team. They're more cohesive. And again, Louisville has a great team too. It's just I think Michigan's gonna be just good enough. Again, they've been on a tear in the conference tournament. They won the Big Ten Conference. They've got 3 quad 1A wins against really tough teams. So I think Michigan's gonna roll and continue that hot streak, move on to the Elite Eight, where they will be playing New Mexico. New Mexico's been beating San Diego State. New Mexico was the best team in the Mountain West, even though they didn't win the conference tournament. They've had the best resume. They've been the best teams. So I think New Mexico's going to keep that good run going and just move on to the Elite Eight and a crazy Cinderella run for them. And finally, Michigan versus New Mexico. I really, really, really want to pick New Mexico just for the Cinderella run. I just don't think they're going to be good enough to beat Michigan. So give me the Michigan Wolverines to move on to the Final Four in a place where like a lot of people are like really heavily doubting them, thinking they're going to lose to UC San Diego or like lose here to maybe Yale or Texas A&M. I personally think everyone's heavily underrating this Michigan team. Heck, they just won the Big Ten Conference, so they should be really good. So I'm going to pick them to go to the Final Four. Now Duke, Baylor, give me Duke. There should be no second thoughts. Duke has been the best team in the country. They're going to keep rolling. Oregon, Akron. I really want to pick Akron to win this one, but I think Oregon's going to do just enough to hang on. BYU, Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a really good team. BYU does too. I really want to pick BYU. Wisconsin might be just good enough. But I think I'll roll with the Cougars. Continue their run into the Sweet 16. Igor Denim hopefully will show up and turn out in this tournament. Show why he's a great playmaker and turn it up. Now, St. Mary's, Alabama. The Crimson Tide, they've been a very good team this year. Nate Oates has turned that program around just insanely. You know, that team has turned into a consistent winner since he's been the head coach. So shout out to him. But I think his run ends here. Give me the Gales. They're going to beat Bama. They're going to play that slow style pace that they usually play. They're going to slow it down, churn it out, and they're going to beat Bama that way. Now, Duke, Oregon, give me Duke. I'm sorry, I just can't pick any team against Duke right now. Like, they have been the best team in the country. They've been hot. They're going to keep it rolling. And honestly, I'm just going to pick them to the Final Four, no matter who they play, BYU or St. Mary's, which I think will be St. Mary's. But even if St. Mary's beats BYU, they're not going to beat Duke. Duke has just been on a roll. They've been on a tear. I think they're at least a lock for the Sweet 16 at minimum, and I think they're very likely to go to the Final Four. And down here, Houston versus Gonzaga. This is not the Gonzaga teams of old. Give me Houston. Give me the Cougars. They've been probably the second hottest team in the country, aside from Duke. So give me the Cougars. Now McNeese and High Point, a 12-13 matchup. Really fun matchup. I think McNeese will hang on in this one to play Houston, where Houston's going to win. They've just been on a tear. I don't see a scenario where Houston doesn't win. Now, Illinois, Kentucky. Kentucky's run ends here. An annual tradition where Kentucky chokes. It's going to happen again, this time in the second round to Illinois. Give me the Fighting Illini. Now, Utah State and Wofford. Wofford being here is crazy. They just pulled off a crazy upset against Tennessee, but they will not be continuing this run. Give me Utah State and the Aggies to just barely hang on and beat the Terriers. Now, Illinois, Utah State. I really want to pick Utah State, but I think Illinois is going to win this game. So, Cougars versus the Illini, and the Cougars will win. Again, Houston and Duke, I think, are essentially on a path to meet in the Final Four. They both have been killing it. They both have been just elite recently. Neither of them have lost much at all since the turn of the calendar year, and I just think they're on a war path to meet each other in the Final Four. Now, Florida, UConn. Part of me wants to pick UConn because I trust this team in March. I trust Dan Hurley in March. But I just think Florida's the better team. I think they're going to win. This is not the UConn that won back-to-back national championships. They've been very inconsistent this year. I think it's going to bite them. But I will say they have been really good against great teams. I'll convince myself. Give me UConn. Give me the Huskies. I think UConn will do just enough to win this game and hang on. They've been great against elite teams, but they've also played down to their competition. So I think that will help them in this matchup against a really elite Florida team. So give me the Huskies to move on to the Sweet 16, where they'll be playing Colorado State. Nick Clifford has been on a tear. Colorado State's been on a tear. Give me the Rams to beat Maryland. Maryland's a good team, but if they don't end up physically dominating, I think they will get played out of the game, and I think that's going to happen against Colorado State. So now on to Missouri, Texas Tech. Mizzou, I want them to win, but they're not going to win. It's Texas Tech is a better team. They're going to move on to Sweet 16. Now Arkansas, St. John's. I could pick Arkansas, but I think St. John's has just been so much better. Arkansas had kind of just like backdoored their way into the tournament with a couple of really good wins ever late. But St. John's is a better team. They're going to move on. Now, UConn, Colorado State. I'm going to go Colorado State. Give me the Rams. They're going to go on an amazing run in this tournament. I think it's pretty crazy how they got seeded at 12 seed. They won their conference tournament, and they were really good as of late. But, again, they're going to take advantage of this run, and they're going to go to the Sweet 16. Texas Tech, St. John's. Give me St. John's. Rick Pitino, again, has done a fantastic job. St. John's has been elite. So now that brings us to a matchup between the Cinderella, Colorado State, or St. John's. Part of me wants to pick Colorado State, but also I feel like St. John's would win this game 9 times out of 10. But again, it's March Madness, so you never know who's going to win that one game. So I'm going to go Nick Clifford and Colorado State to win this one. They're going to be the Cinderella team from this year that makes it to the Final Four. Usually there's always at least like one team every year that's kind of like a Cinderella that makes it to the Final Four. Last year was like NC State. I don't know about 2 years ago, but at least a couple years ago, you got Loyola Chicago. You had South Carolina. You've had Syracuse as an 11 seed in the Final Four. VCU obviously is a famous one. George Mason, Wichita State. So you've had a bunch of like double-digit seeds. I mean, FAU even 2 years ago was like a 9 seed. So we've always seen at least like one Cinderella type team make it to the Final Four. So I think it's going to be Colorado State this year. Now, Michigan versus Colorado State in the Final Four. I think this is where Colorado State's run ends. They face a really damn good Michigan team. And I think Michigan has been very underrated. And it's shown over and over again because a lot of people are picking against them. But I think they've been a great team, honestly. So I think they're going to end up winning this game against Colorado State to go to the national championship, where they will meet the winner of Duke and Houston. This game would be amazing if this happened out. Like, if they end up playing in the Final Four, I would love this matchup, Both teams have been elite. Both teams have really great defenses, really solid and efficient offenses, elite players. I just think the overall talent that Duke has is going to be just enough to win. So I think Duke should win this game. Maybe not should, but I think they will win this game to play Michigan in the national championship, where we will see Duke win their first national championship since, I think, 2015. Yeah, I think it's been 10 years since they beat Wisconsin in that national championship. So they're going to repeat, or not repeat, but they're going to return as champs 10 years since they last won one. And Cooper Flagg's going to end up winning the Natty for Duke to complete like just a perfect like freshman year for him. Now for total points, I'm going to guess like something like 120 or something, but it doesn't really matter. But I think Duke has been the hottest team in the country. They've been amazing. Won the ACC. Obviously, yes, the ACC is kind of weak, but they've been dominating teams left and right. They were really great in the non-conference. I think it's going to continue. They have some great players. So give me the Blue Devils to win the Natty this year. And again, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Whatever it is, just put it down below in the comments. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Who do you have winning the Natty? And whatever it is, just let me know. Again, until next time.